Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Lazy Gourmet. I'm Ken, and I will be with you today showing you how to make an awesome Greek dessert. The dessert that we're going to talk about and make today is a Greek Galaktoboureko. So, into this thing, we're going to put 1 cup of sugar, and what we're going to do is beat in 6 eggs. So often you do want to check in case there's a shell in there, but usually I'm very careful, so we'll find out tomorrow. Mix her down. Start whipping these up. Nothing really to it so far. We're going to beat these for a few minutes, just enough until the batter that we're working with, the sugar and the eggs, actually starts thickening up. All right. So now I'm going to put this bowl aside, get it out of the way. As this thing starts beating and our mixture starts incorporating, what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I use a good quality vanilla extract, but you can use whatever you got. Totally fine. Vanilla goes in. Again, love these mason jars, big or small. 1.5 cups of fine semolina flour, goes in, and probably the most complicated part is lemon zest. What we want is the zest of 2 lemons. Nothing to this. Just get the initial skin. Don't go any deeper than that, or it's going to become really bitter for you. And after that happens, then you just kind of lose the whole flavor. You want to get the lemon and the tart, but you don't want to get the bitterness. This is going to give it a really awesome flavor. I'm actually going against the traditional recipe. Traditionally, they use orange. In this case, I wanted to change it up a little bit and use lemon. I'm more of a lemon person anyway. All right, the zest is done. This is the zest here of about 2 lemons. Goes right in there. The next part of this is, and this is, believe me, it's better this way. You lower the speed of the blender, or the mixer in this case, because what comes next is we're going to incorporate 8 cups of milk. Now, I was getting this ready, so I had the milk covered, but basically this is 8 cups of milk that are going to go into this thing, and hopefully I'll get this in there without making too much of a mess. That's almost right to the top. I'm going to incorporate that and let that mix well for the next minute or 2. All right, so now what we're going to go do now is basically come here to the stove part of our recipe, and what I'm going to do is turn on the stove to maybe like a medium-high heat. I don't want an intense heat because I don't want to scald the bottom. I just want it just enough to start bringing up the temperature and actually start heating it through, so it actually, this mixture will start thickening up. All right, so now our mixture is pretty much incorporated. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off. Take this, remove this. This makes things easier to work with. Undo this, and very slowly and carefully bring it into our pot now. Our oven has preheated, so that's okay. And we pour this in just like that. And there's some stuff at the bottom. The best tools are your hands when it comes to cooking in the kitchen. So what I'm going to do next is grease the pan. What I'm using here is just an aluminum foil, aluminum pan. It's from my buddy Ange and his wife, so I don't want anything back. But in order for this not to stick, again with the hands, I'm going to take some butter, just slather it nice and evenly all over the place here on the inside. So that way nothing sticks to the sides. All right. The pan has been greased, it's all ready to go. Now we just gotta wait for our custard to start heating up and thickening up, and then we'll take it from there. Alrighty, so now, wooden spoon, turn on the light here, and we'll just slowly start stirring that. This will take about 15 to 20 minutes, give or take, but it's going to be so worth it. This is actually going to be unbelievably good. For this recipe, it's very easy. There's basically 8 cups of liquid to 1 cup of sugar, so it's not overly sweet. Our mixture is basically done in terms of the filling. It's a beautiful consistency. It's very thick. It's thickened up nicely. The smell is absolutely amazing. That vanilla with that lemon zest in there, awesome, awesome. So now, the next part of this, in terms of building this dessert, is the use of the layers of phyllo. So I just use the regular store-bought stuff that was previously frozen, thaw it out, and you're good to go. And the whole thing of this, or the trick to this recipe, is 2/3 to 1/3. So basically, you handle the phyllo 2/3 on the bottom with 1/3 on the top. And it's very, very easy to do. Nothing to it. You do need a bit of a gentler hand for this, but not a big deal. So basically, you just put this, line the pan all around like this. So, nicely softened butter, and just slathered it any which way. It doesn't have to be anything special, doesn't have to be anything fancy, because at the end, this is all just going to heat up and melt in the oven anyway, and it's going to become all nice and crusty and flaky. With our heated butter, this is definitely not a dish for those that are interested in calorie counting, but what are you going to do? And again, lining the pan with multiple layers of the phyllo dough. Oh, and by the way, for this recipe, or for most of my baking, and this is just me and it's a personal preference, I prefer to use the salted butter. A lot of people will say, well, I don't like to use salted butter only because I get to control how much salt goes into my food. Well, if you're having dessert, chances are you're not going to be worried too much about how much salt you're consuming. And once in a while is totally fine. It's not like you're going to have this stuff every day, but it's a really nice treat. All right, so now, the moment of truth. Our phyllo dough is done. It's time to pour this custard into the pan. Look at this. This has treadmill written all over it. Here we have the custard-filled pan, and I'm just spreading this all around. And the only thing that's left to do with this is, you guessed it, pour a little more butter over it. This just adds so much flavor and so much decadence to this. And now, we start with more layering of the phyllo dough on the top. See where I'm going with this? And then you take a little more butter, pour it all over, just like so. Make sure you get most of the phyllo. It's what's going to give you that crunchy flakiness. And once you put this down like this, this is the top layer. What we're going to do is we're just going to turn this over, just like this. And that way, it creates like a little love pocket in there. The next thing we have to do now is an old baker's trick, or an old woman's trick that used to make this, is you're supposed to cut the first few layers of the actual phyllo pastry, so that way, as it bakes, you know where you're going to be cutting. So I'm just going to score this nice and gently here. I'm using a serrated knife, but you can use any knife that's really sharp and that won't tear into your dough. and now I cut into squares. When this comes out, it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. You don't want to make too big of pieces because at 1,200 calories a mouthful, it's not the best idea, but it is so worth it. So here is what it looks like before it goes into the oven. This will bake for approximately 45 minutes to an hour. After that, it comes out, we let it cool, and then we add the glaze over it. And now, my dear friends, the moment of truth. The oven just beeped, so it's time to see what we've done. This is unbelievable. It's all ready to go. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It came out perfectly. It's not overdone, not underdone. The next thing to do now is just basically let this rest for a little bit while I make the syrup that's going to go over this, which is basically a simple syrup with a few teaspoons of lemon juice. So now we're going to make our simple syrup with the lemon juice in it, and what we're going to use is just a simple stainless steel pot, little pan. Turn our oven to high, and from there use the juice without the pits, of course. That's awesome there. So now what we're going to do is, very simply, a cup of water and a cup of sugar. Just like that. Sugar goes in. Water goes in as well. Put these out of the way here. So now that this is all combined, you have the cup of sugar, the cup of water, and the 3 or so tablespoons of lemon juice. We put it on the stove over a high, medium-high heat and bring that to a boil. Once we bring it to a boil, it's pretty much ready to go. So we just keep stirring this basically until the sugar is dissolved and the lemon juice is completely incorporated. So now our simple syrup with lemon mixture is done. It's come to a boil. We're ready to top our Galaktoboureko. So go nice and easy, really slowly. It may seem like a lot of liquid, but at the end, this will absorb it all. And tomorrow, after it cools, it'll be absolutely magnificent. This is the kind of stuff that makes your toes curl. When we pre-cut our phyllo, it was actually beneficial because now we also have the syrup being able to penetrate into our Galaktoboureko. Oh my gosh, if you guys can smell this now, this is really something. You have that lemony custard mixed in with the sweetness of that syrup. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Have it, the finished Galaktoboureko, all ready to go for my dear friends Angelo and his wife Paula. Really excited. It doesn't take that long. Its preparation is the key and organization to making something like this, but it's well worth it. So, I thank you for watching. I appreciate your input, your likes. So if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you really like it, subscribe. I'd love to have you follow me, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching The Lazy Gourmet. I'm Ken. Bye for now.